All right, hello Honors 110. So today's video, I'm going to try to keep on the short side because I know I already occupied a lot of your time with our longest reading of the class. So this is Kathy Davidson's Project Classroom Makeover. So to hit on a few highlights here, and particularly some of the bigger questions that this reading always gets me thinking about, the first thing I want to just throw out there is just getting a sense from the class of what your experience is with kind of technology in your educational experiences, using things like smartphones and devices, using tablets, what that's kind of looked like in your education up to this point, and maybe within your college career itself as well. I'm also curious what we think about this concept of generational differences. This comes up in the text a couple times. And to hit on one specific part of the text sort of related to that, I want to go to page 63 of the PDF I provided you all, and that middle paragraph. So it reads, when Duke announced that we would be giving a free iPod to every member of the entering first year class, there were no conditions. We simply asked students to dream up learning applications for this cool little white device with the adorable earbuds, and we invited them to pitch their ideas to the faculty. If one of their profs decided to use iPods in a course, the prof too would receive a free Duke branded iPod, and so would all the students in the class, whether they were first years or not. We would not control the result. This was an educational experiment without a syllabus, no lesson plan, no assessment matrix rigged to show our investment had been a wise one, no assignment to count the basketballs. After all, we knew from the science of attention to direct attention in one way, we precluded all the other ways. So we asked our basic question in as broad and open-ended way as possible. Are there interesting learning applications from this device that is taking over young America as a source of entertainment? And then the most revolutionary question of all, what do you students have to tell us about learning in a digital age? And so I wanted to kind of pose this part of the reading and kind of a supplemental question with that of what do we think of this concept of teachers or an institution learning from the students themselves? Particularly the last part of that paragraph, I would suggest points us in that direction, that we're kind of putting kind of education in the hands of the students and letting them kind of guide what we think about this or how we could potentially use that. If you have experiences like that or what you think about that, feel free to apply that back to that bigger question I introduced before I read that excerpt, just about kind of intergenerational differences in how people view technology and particularly education and its relationship with it. Otherwise, some points I wanted to get at related to that part that I just read there and to the broader reading in general. Why would Apple give these iPods to a university? Because that in and of itself may seem counterintuitive. This is a major producer of technological products to just give away such a large portion of their product. What's the motivation? Why do we think that they would have done that? Beyond that, to get to some of the other big ideas from the text, I'm curious about sort of just our perspectives on this idea of standardized curriculum, right? One of the things that the reading talks about is letting individual schools kind of select their own curriculum and what they teach versus the value or the perceived value of letting education be something that is more standardized across the board, uniform to entire country, or even broader kind of boundaries than that. What we just sort of think of all of that? What are the pros and cons? What were the examples you've seen perhaps in your own experience there? There's also this point that gets to, this is more in the latter part of the reading, though it's a little scattered throughout as well, about gamifying education, about the value of making something we're learning into a game, whether it's more formally, like actually a literal video game that we're playing for educational purposes or a game played in a class. In class, or whether we're talking about more kind of symbolically of kind of just making learning fun in certain ways. There's also this concept that shows up on page 100 of the reading of collaboration by difference, which I think is just an interesting concept and one we're thinking about coming out of this reading. Okay, so I've successfully gotten through the big questions I want to get to. There's so much more in this reading, though. It's an incredibly rich one. I do find, actually disproportionately, a lot of my students do find this reading useful for their essay. So if you haven't yet sort of done this reading, I encourage you go back, give this one its due diligence. At least kind of skimming through and trying to read specific sections that are kind of grab your eye, catch your interest. I think it really is missing out just to skip this reading altogether. But okay, I've succeeded in keeping this pretty short, so I'm going to leave it right around this 5-minute mark here. Look forward to the discussion as always.